Hello and welcome back to another episode of WJ Live, powered by The Western Journal. I'm George Upper, editor-in-chief of The Western Journal. I'm joined by associate assignment editor Olivia Brown. And since it's Friday, that means that Western Journal contributor Cameron Arcand is with us as well, representing the left coast of the United States of America. Welcome, Cameron. Thank you for being with us. Today we're going to talk about a somewhat ominous tweet from President Joe Biden that came out yesterday, as well as possible indictment for President Donald Trump. But before we get to that, you may be interested in knowing the latest government benefit to come out of Washington, D.C. It has to do with paying for internet access. Olivia, you have some information on that.
Yeah, so spending has really gotten out of control underneath Biden. It's been growing just in the last couple years, even before he took office. But now we're looking at the internet. So this is very interesting to me because when you talk about it, it is called the Emergency Broadband Benefit. This was part of a bill that was passed last December that was $900 billion. Mm-hmm. It was already passed, but it went into effect yesterday. So that's the important element on how it is in the times now. What I think is interesting about it is the people that are eligible for it is not exactly who you would expect to be eligible. Some of them, yes, the people that, are on the poverty level, that as well. But the interesting thing is, if you lost your job since February 2020, and you have since had a job now since then, but if you lost your job any point between then, and you made up to $99,000 in 2020, you can get this $50 off your internet bill each month.
Wow.
You are qualified. So that is for a single filer. If you're a joint filer, it's making $198,000.
Yeah, not exactly poverty level.
That's not poverty
here.
level.
These are not people who need government handouts.
No. So that's the most important thing I think about this. This is in addition to all the spending that we already had. The FEC already had another program where you'd be getting off $9 a month instead of the $50. Also on top of this emergency broadband benefit is that you can get $100 off any computer or tablet or desktop computer that you want. So for me, before I came to this job, I was out of work for a small amount of time. I qualify for this. I can go and get $100 off any laptop that I want from the government now. Because I don't believe that that's how I should be spending my money, I'm likely not going to do that. But it's crazy to me that I qualify for this. I feel like I am well off. I'm okay. I'm not a person who needs my internet paid. So I think that's really interesting. In addition to, Biden already has $6 trillion in his 3 plans that he's just introduced. Right. There's day after day new things. I just read an article today about $8 billion going for the post office being able to turn all their vehicles into electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. We're spending $8 billion on that. This is not inside the $2.2 trillion infrastructure. This is outside of that. We also, another bill was set yesterday for gyms. $30 billion is going just for gyms alone. And, it's great that we're, helping out communities and different things, but gyms, shouldn't have they already been covered by all the other COVID packages that we've already been putting forth?
Yeah, if they hadn't all been shut down by the government in the first place, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's, I guess you can make some people have made the argument that if the federal government is going to, or any government, any branch of government, any level of government is going to shut down anything, that they should be fiscally responsible for it. The problem with that is there's no they there. There's no such thing as government money. It's all our money. It's all taxpayer money.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a corporate tax. It's all paid by individuals. Corporations don't just eat that. They pass it on to suppliers and to consumers and buyers, et cetera. It's all a big shell game. It's all just a big shell game. And the government, career politicians, I should say, just do a wonderful job of renaming these things so that we don't recognize how much money is really literally just being taken out of our pocket.
I mean, with this, the emergency broadband benefit, the internet, if I wanted, you could be paying for my internet.
Right.
That's essentially what they're doing. I can get George to pay for my internet. I can get Cameron to pay for my internet.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Cameron doing it. He's a young man. He makes good money. He's flush. He's flush with cash, as I understand it. So I think that'll work out just fine. I'm just a poor corrupt editor in chief. I don't have those kind of funds to play with. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Cameron, what do you think about all that?
I think the timing of this whole thing is that it's a little bit too late. I think this would have made a lot more sense if this happened in, I don't know, May 2020 and not May 2021 to have this kind of thing where people are transitioning into remote work. I think this is something that it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense how people who are clearly can't afford their own internet, there's a lot of affordable options to do that, would qualify for this. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then I would probably, if I could make all the laws in the world, I would probably add the restriction of only if you have children can you qualify for this, because they're the ones that have had to deal with the transition to online school in the past year. A lot of places are still hesitant to do that. So I think the discount would have made a lot more sense if it did not come around right now. I don't really see the usefulness of it for such a broad group of people in this current moment. But I'd be honestly kind of curious to hear about in a lot of rural communities how they feel about this, if they kind of feel that this might be like a positive thing, because I know rural broadband access, it might be a whole separate issue. I don't know a whole lot about this. I'm just trying to maybe get to some sort of conclusion on it.
Yeah,
I think that's legitimate, Cameron. I do think, broadband, internet access in general, broadband, whatever, you can make a legitimate argument. Even a small government guy like me can make a legitimate argument that there is a infrastructure component to that, right? That's helpful, it's one of those things that you could at least make the argument that is best done by government, at least at some level. That just like roads and highways, they should all be built by independent contractors, but the overseeing of all of that is that's an arguably useful thing for government to do. Transportation infrastructure, law enforcement, those things. You can also make the argument that they should all be privatized, and that's fine. But I'm not trying actually to argue either way. I'm just saying I don't think it's unreasonable to say the government has an interest in broadband internet access. That it's a cultural issue, it's an educational issue, it's an infrastructure issue. Mm-hmm. So
in Biden's infrastructure bill, he does have another $100 billion planned just for broadband access. So, besides all this, that's in the $2 trillion already.
Yeah.
So he's going to make it, besides just this group of people, to everyone, is what the $100 billion is going for.
Yeah, that's it just when you think that it's about, the federal government's just as ridiculous as it could possibly be, it grows another arm. It's like
an octopus.
It is. It's like an octopus or a hydra. We keep cutting off heads and two more grow back. It's just ridiculous. One of the things that we use the internet for, of course, is social media like Twitter and Joe Biden. Perhaps Joe Biden is interested in expanding broadband access so that more people will see his tweets. I don't think he's that forward thinking, and I'm not 100% sure he knows what Twitter is. So I don't want to give him too much credit, but it's a possibility.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody's tweeting in his name anyway. Whether who knows whether how much how even aware he is of that. But Cameron, there was a tweet yesterday from Joe Biden's account that raised a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah, so the administration kind of announced yesterday, along with the CDC, that you now can go indoors and outdoors if you're fully vaccinated without a mask. And a lot of the messaging behind this lately, including a Biden tweet, was him saying, get vaccinated or wear a mask until you do. And he also put out another clip that went viral where it's him saying, vaxxed or masked. So he's really trying to get people to get this vaccine, and he's really kind of trying to do rhetorically, you only have two options. Now, kind of what I wanted to ask you guys about this was, who is he trying to persuade? We've been in this pandemic for over a year now, and everyone's already kind of made up their mind pretty much whether they're going to get the vaccine, whether they're going to wear a mask, whether or not they're going to follow certain restrictions or not. And it seems like Joe Biden is a little bit late to understanding this game. So what do you guys think he's trying to do here with kind of this rhetoric of you only have two options?
I would think that it is because he's assuming the people that, that hate masks are thinking, oh, I don't have to wear a mask anymore, so I'm going to go get vaccinated. I'm guessing that a lot of people that don't like wearing masks also don't want to get vaccinated.
Yeah, there's a large intersection between those two groups of people. I think you're right, Olivia, and I sort of almost agree with that tact of messaging, almost. The idea of the way that Biden put it, it almost sounds threatening, right?
That's what I was thinking. Or else.
Yeah, exactly. You can get vaccinated or you can wear a mask. The punishment for not getting vaccinated is being forced to wear a mask. That's the wrong approach, in my opinion. But I think there is probably some messaging there where you could say, hey, you want to get rid of these dumb masks? Go get your shot. And now you don't have to wear it anymore. And that's sort of a little more friendly, a little more, it's the same thing, but you're treating it like a carrot instead of like a stick, I think would actually be more effective. Neither one of them's, I don't care about either one. If he gives me that, two options, I'm picking option C, none of the above. But, so I don't know that either way really makes a whole heck of a lot of difference, but I think the way that he phrased it is just it's unnecessarily combative.
Yeah, I would agree.
And almost certainly engenders more resistance to vaccinations than it does agreement with them, in my opinion.
Because people sometimes have a mentality of, you're going to tell me to do something, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
I would maybe add on to that and say that I think Biden is repeatedly trying to reach out to a group of Americans that doesn't exist. And it's kind of like a lot of times I say certain things and I'm like, who are you talking to right now? And I think he might understand it to some degree, but isn't coming through in his messaging how divided the country is right now and how set people are in their ways, especially on the issue of COVID. And kind of another thing I want to tack on to this kind of more tribalist mindset that COVID has created is that there's now a big chunk of the left who saw this announcement yesterday and was like, wait, hold on a second. Why are we pausing masks so early? I liked this lockdown thing. I liked being under control. So what are we doing here now? And I kind of want to pull up a David Hogg tweet from earlier this morning about how he was saying that, oh, well, I'm going to keep wearing my mask because, oh no, what if someone thinks I'm a Republican? What if someone thinks I'm a Republican if I go without my mask, even though I'm fully vaccinated? And this doesn't make any sort of sense to me, where people are caring more about like cultural aesthetics in a sense, where people care more about, oh, I want to make sure I don't look like a Karen or a Republican, that I'm wearing the mask throughout the whole thing. Like, I'm fully vaccinated And wherever, unless they are going to ask me to put it on somewhere, I'm not going to wear it anymore. And it's like, if you are vaccinated, people really need to start like they're acting like it. And this is going to get into a whole thing. It just further proves the point that this was all about politics from the beginning.
Yeah, my initial response is thank you, David Hogg. I don't want anybody to think you're one of us either. So I'm perfectly happy with your response there. It also will serve to hide that smug whatever it is that you think is a grin on your face half the time. So I fully approve of David Hogg wearing a mask until he dies. I'm totally fine with that. I think 24/7 masking for David Hogg would make the world a better place. So I'm in favor. Thank you, David. Keep up the good work.
Because it really would be the end of the world if he was thought as a Republican.
Yeah, heaven. First of all, you've got to who talk about people who don't exist, Cameron. Who is dumb enough to think David Hogg is a conservative? Who on the planet would, oh, he's wearing a mask. Oh, that guy. Yeah. Oh, he must be a conservative. Okay. What rock are you living under to think that that's the case? Give me a break.
It's just like living out here in California. It's just, I see the insanity of this stuff every single day. You go out in your neighborhood. People are still wearing, I live in a very well-educated area. I looked at our zip code, about 60% of us here, fully vaccinated. We're still wearing our masks out on walks.
Yep.
No one is within 12 feet of each other. It's backwards level thinking at this point.
I see people every day here in Arizona riding bikes by themselves, wearing masks on a bicycle.
On a bike?
Every day on my way to or from work. And I live 3 miles from where I am right now. So it's not a long commute. It's not like I'm seeing 2 million people on my way to work. I see a few dozen, and almost every day I see one on a bike in a mask. It's and CDC also, one thing they came out with 2 days ago, I think. They said that there are zero, not statistically zero, actually zero reported cases or confirmed cases of individuals who had contracted coronavirus by incidental outdoor contact. There are no cases. None.
Wow.
They've been saying forever it was like 10%. 10% of the cases come from that. And then I think it was 2 days ago. Don't hold me to that, but I think it was Wednesday. They came out and said, oh, you know what? No, we were wrong. It wasn't 10%. It was literally none. We have no confirmed cases of that. So the whole wear a mask outside thing has been ridiculous, was never backed up by science. There's no reason. If you're going to be standing outside at a concert and in a crowd of people, that might be a little bit different. But outside with incidental contact, like a server coming to you as you're eating at a restaurant at a table outside, or walking by people in the park outside, whatever, there are zero cases that have been confirmed to come from that. So the idea of outside masks has always been pretty questionable at best. All right. Cameron, anything else on that you wanted to? I don't want to cut you short.
No, all I'm going to say is I think people are kind of at that point where it's like, if you are vaccinated, act like it. If you are immune, act like you're immune. It's that simple. And the pandemic isn't going to be over at this point until you make it over.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
That's a decision that you have to make with yourself. Do you want to see everyone wearing masks in public? Do you want to contribute to that? That's your decision. But if you're wearing the mask and you're worried that someone's going to think differently of you, maybe go see a therapist. I don't know.
I would totally agree on that recommendation, Cameron.
Yeah. And actually, I would have agreed with that recommendation probably 3 years ago. These same people probably needed therapy all along. This just happens to be the latest symptom. So moving to a somewhat different topic, I was surprised to read yesterday that Florida is preparing for, quote, thorny extradition issues that could arise if, in fact, Donald Trump is indicted in New York. I'm sure you guys are aware Trump's been under investigation by Cyrus Vance Jr., the Manhattan District Attorney, for alleged hush money paid to sex workers, Stormy Daniels, or maybe she's former sex workers. I haven't really been keeping up with her career, so I'm not quite sure what she's doing now to make a living, if anything. But Stormy Daniels, who allegedly the Trump organization gave some money to get her to stop talking, despite the fact that she has claimed under oath at least twice that did not happen. That's not enough for Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr., shockingly a Democrat, who has been investigating this for some time. But here's the issue. If Vance issues any indictments against Trump, which I think is fairly likely, it's not a done deal, hasn't happened yet, but it's fairly likely. And Vance has said if he's going to do indictments, he's going to issue them this year. This is his last year. He's not running for re-election. He wants to get them issued before he's out of office. So I suspect that is coming in 2021. But if he does it and Trump is in Florida, if he's not in New York, if he's in Florida, then Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as many governors do, he has the power to intervene and make a decision himself as to whether Trump should be surrendered to the state of New York to face that indictment. The governor has the authority to order a review of that. A lot of governors have that. Obviously, no state wants agents of another state coming into their territory and saying, "Oh, we're taking these people; they're under arrest." Yeah. So most governors have the authority to say, "Oh, well, he's one of my citizens. Hold on, let me look into this before I turn him over to you." Donald Trump, of course, all along has said this is a witch hunt, essentially. It's about political enemies targeting him, whether or not you agree with that. The fact that Cyrus Vance Jr. is a Democrat and Trump a Republican certainly raises that issue. So here's my question. Let's assume for a second that Cyrus Vance Jr. does, in fact, issue these indictments or issues an indictment against Donald Trump as a result of this investigation. I want to ask two questions about what's right here. First, what's morally right? We'll get to the politics in a minute, but just what's morally defensible here from DeSantis's point of view? Would it be okay, morally, ethically, for Ron DeSantis to deny Trump's extradition to New York and deny, theoretically, the people of New York the opportunity to seek justice in this case, assuming that's what's going on, again, taking the politics out of it, assuming that's what's going on. Is that a right thing for Ron DeSantis to do? What do you think, Olivia?
I personally don't see any problem with it. Legally, he's not doing anything that's wrong. This is, if it was him, making a executive thing, going over laws that were there that say that he has to give Trump up to New York, then I would have a problem with that. If there's a political ally saying, nope, I'm going to use my power to make sure that my friend doesn't get impacted. However, that's not the story here. That's not what's happening. So I don't see anything wrong with it. And I likely see that being the case with which DeSantis is going to do. Okay.
What do you think, Karen? Right or wrong thing to do?
I would tend to agree with Olivia here. I think that's probably the most likely scenario of what would happen. I would probably think that if it is just kind of preventing an extradition, it probably would be morally correct. But I think if he was jumping through hoops to make sure that the president didn't get extradited, then it would be more shady in a sense. But I think realistically, this is going to be something that it'll probably make headlines sometime in like a few months from now. And then it will turn more into a DeSantis thing than a Trump thing. I think people will be looking more closely at what he does because he's kind of seen more as the future of the party, and kind of seeing if this is going to be more of a litmus test. So whenever that day comes, if that day comes, I know the media is probably going to have a field day with it.
Oh, of course they will. Yeah, if Vance wants to issue indictments, he might want to hurry while Well, Trump's still in New Jersey. He's slated to be there for a little while, I think, and they, of course, have a Democratic governor, so Trump probably would have less chance of finding any help there. So I guess related question, politically, if that's what happens, Vance issues an indictment, Trump's in Florida, DeSantis intervenes, said, no, you can't have him. What's the political fallout for DeSantis in that event? Any? Does it hurt him, help him? If he's looking at a 2024 run, what do you think, Cameron?
It's more of a matter of when it happens. I think the political impact, with DeSantis, a lot of the country doesn't know him yet, but for the people who do, they do kind of see him as kind of someone who is aligned with Trump, but he's also someone who could unite the party as a figure. I think the left side of the country is going to view him just the same. However, let's say this happens this year or in 2022, the news cycle will forget about it by the time the election comes around, if DeSantis decides to launch a bid.
Okay, Olivia, flip side of the same question. Political fallout. If this is all what happens, what about political fallout for the Democrats? Is this continued obsession with the former president of the United States helping them or hurting them politically in the long run? Forget about justice and morality for a second, if you can. That's kind of a hard. Forget about justice and morality, but questions of that aside for a moment, just in terms of politics, is the real estate that Donald Trump continues to occupy rent-free in the heads of the left helping them politically in any way, or is it hurting them, or do you think it matters?
I think in the long run, it will hurt them because we'll be seeing, how citizens will be like, why were they chasing after Donald Trump so hard, even after he's not president anymore? I mean, it's usually when you have presidents, they pass it on to the next and they kind of take a step back. We haven't seen that in the news cycle, and it's not necessarily because of President Trump, because he's barred off of social media.
Right.
I mean, it's not like he has this large presence on social media now.
He doesn't have that bully pulpit anymore.
No, it's the media still continuing to push it. It's the people like Vance who are still have this vendetta against him.
Yeah. And
I think that will hurt them because people see this is incredibly divisive.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we did a story, Western Journal did a story, I don't know, maybe in February or March, remembering a prediction that Donald Trump made that when he was out of office that CNN's ratings were going to plummet. And he was right. They did, in fact, without Trump around to, as a whipping boy.
Yep.
CNN, MSNBC, all of the so-called mainstream media sources, establishment, legacy media, whatever you want to call them, they struggled. I know that New York Times subscription revenue was huge during the Trump administration. And it was because people who read the New York Times don't like Donald Trump. And so they wanted to know what was going on. They wanted to hear the New York Times opinion of it. They knew they were more likely to agree with the New York Times opinion of it. I have not seen anything since, but I got to believe their subscriptions are falling off. They certainly aren't going to be growing at the rate that they were under the Trump administration. All right, thanks, guys. Before we close out here, I do want to make a programming note or in regards to an episode that we ran 2 days ago on Wednesday. One of the segments in that episode was based on a story published in the Western Journal that we've since retracted. This is about a Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of the term anti-vaxxer, which has been changed to include people who are against government mandates, not just people who are against vaccinations, which I think everybody on the planet understands that's what an actual anti-vaxxer is. But Merriam-Webster changed their definition to say that that's anybody against government mandates of vaccination, which is a ridiculously stupid definition. What that means is all of the conservatives who are against government mandates of, any small government person who's against a government mandate of vaccination, who has been himself or herself repeatedly vaccinated, has vaccinated their children, they're anti-vaxxers anyway. That's because they're against the mandate. That's ridiculous. It is a confusion of the language. It is not helpful in the language. So that definition is wrong and bad. However, we ran a story that said basically that they had changed that definition in response to all of the reaction to COVID vaccinations, and that is not accurate. They actually changed that definition in 2018. We missed that fact. That was just a miss on our part. There were a bunch of people who were running with this on social media, and we just got caught up in that and didn't do the homework that we should have done before we published that story. So, at the Western Journal, truth is extremely valuable to us. It's one of our absolute core values. And so when we make a mistake, as we inevitably do from time to time, we like to call it out. We don't hide it on, page 20, and we don't put it in the back where nobody will ever see it. We say we messed this up because we want to bring you truth. And so when we bring you something that turns out not to be truth, we want to bring you that too, because we want you to know what the truth actually is. That's the truth. The truth is that definition was not changed in response to anything that had to do with COVID. However, it is a stupid definition. It is a ludicrous definition on Merriam-Webster's part. So that part still is true. We should still mock them outrageously for doing that. And that's it for WJ Live today, powered by the Western Journal. Thank you to Olivia and Cameron for being here with me today. We are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. One of those days I will say our broadcast times without messing it up and stumbling over the words, or maybe not. Maybe I will never do that. Maybe I will stumble over it every time. We don't want you to ever miss an episode, so we invite you to find us on YouTube. It's youtube.com/WJ Live. Click that subscribe button, click the bell so you'll be notified every time a new episode gets posted. We don't want you to miss anything that we're doing here. We want to equip you with all the truth that we can get out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday in these few minutes together. Thank you for joining us once more. Have a great weekend, maybe a vaccinated weekend, maybe a mask-free weekend. I hope that it's a safe weekend under any circumstances, and we'll see you again right here next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Thanks for being here. Thanks, guys.
Josh, did you hear? They're putting the Libertarian back on the podcast.
No.
Oh? You didn't see the calendar?
No.
You should talk to Kayla about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, who's on the show Tuesday?
You and Joe.
Yeah. Like he's back.
Yeah, no. You and Joe.
The Libertarian?
Yeah, Libertarian Joe.
He's not back.
You should just go in the studio and check it out.
You're messing with me.
Okay.
Okay. Nice joke, Kayla. Got me to go to the studio.
Oh.
No!